Hi. When clients come to consult Emma and I at Impact Coaching Consultancy, one of the most common requests of something to work on is to have more personal impact. That's fair enough, but personal impact is not a single thing. It's like a multifaceted construct in a way. So I've broken it down into its various components, and I'm going to talk a bit about those. But today I'm going to focus my attention on something that is really important to have personal impact, and that's presence. Or to be more precise, to be present. Now, being present implies that we're moving into the realm of attention, and so presence is defined as paying attention to what you're doing whilst you're doing it. Now, you might say, well, I do that all the time, but in fact you don't. Most human beings are on what we might think of as automatic pilot. It's called default mode. Automatic pilot for roughly 50% of the time, and some clever folks have dotted it up, and they think that it amounts to about 10 years of your whole life on automatic pilot, not paying attention to what you're doing whilst you're doing it. Now, I'm not suggesting that autopilot is a bad thing. It's a great thing. If you drive a car, if you're walking in crowds, if you're eating soup, you're watching TV, you're tying shoelaces, automatic pilot's brilliant. It simplifies your life down, and it enables the habit patterns that you've formed and the experience you've had of living in the world in general just to do what it does, just to perform. But here's the thing. I was driving behind what I think was a new learner driver yesterday, and you just get a sixth sense that they're not on autopilot. Their driving is different, and you can just sense it, so you hang back a little bit, because if someone's not driving an automatic pilot, they're thinking about it, and thinking is a slow process compared to automatic pilot, which is fast. And so we all get that sense of someone's just doing something a bit differently. They're running on a different system. So why is it important to be able to pay attention to what you're doing whilst you're doing it? Well, think of attention as a torchlight. When you're paying attention to, say, someone who's speaking to you, or if you're presenting, let's say, to a high stakes group, or you're interacting with people that you want to consider to be important, you're focusing your attention, you're shining a light on what they're saying and what they're doing, which means that your attention is external. On automatic pilot, your attention is almost always internal. If you're walking through a crowd, you don't even have to think about it. You're on autopilot, but your attention is internal. You're talking to yourself. You're giving the inner critic an opportunity to put you down. You're imagining stuff. You're just doing all sorts of stuff. You've had the experience. You're kind of daydreaming. You're walking through a crowd. A very, very complex thing. Driving, incredibly complex. You don't even have to pay attention to it anymore. But you're internal. And if you're internal, you're not external. You're not paying attention to what's going on. Now, the problem is this. Automatic pilot always gives you what it always gives you. So if you would like to have more personal impact, you have to change what you do to some extent, which means that you have to start to pay attention to what's going on whilst it's going on, what you're doing whilst you're doing it, who you're talking to. You've got to start to bring your attention external to you, because when you let it be internal, you will always get the same thing. The inner critic will tell you can't do it. You'll feel nervous. Your physical response, let's say if you're presenting to a high stakes group, your physical response might be anxiety or stressed. And being internal makes you tend to think that it's valid and accurate, as opposed to being the habitual response to putting yourself down, not feeling good enough, not feeling capable, not feeling up to the task. And so when you say, or if you do say, I'd like to have more personal impact, what you're really saying is, I'd like to be who I am, own my skills and resources, be able to focus my attention external and not listen to the inner critic when I'm performing. The inner critic is, well, let's just say it puts you down. But if you listen to it habitually in autopilot, then what it says will feel true, and that's not helpful to you. So, having more personal impact is being able to choose to be present when you need to be present because it's important to you. If you leave it to automatic pilot, then you're going to make decisions or not make decisions based on habit. And if you've ever had the experience of regretting doing something, of not doing something that you'd like to do, that was an automatic pilot decision. If you procrastinate, that's automatic pilot. If you put yourself down, that's automatic pilot. If you feel stressed and anxious, that's automatic pilot. Because these are all mistakes made by your brain based upon past experiences which are just multiplied and multiplied and multiplied through time. So I hope you find this fascinating, because what we're actually doing is we're thinking about the operating system of your brain, how it makes you do stuff that you may or may not want to do, but you're unaware of it. And the secret to personal impact is to develop the ability to be aware of processes which are important so that you can get more of what you want and less of what you don't want. If you have found this fascinating, please feel free to get in touch with Emma or myself at Impact Coaching Consultancy. We'll be happy to have a conversation about how to have more personal impact.